What's going on, everybody? This is John Jake Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the Jeff Grossman Dynasty here on NCAA 14 using that college football revamp. And we are now here in the off-season, our very first off-season as an FBS head coach. And we did pretty good overall, all things considered. We finished 10-4 over the course of this season. I really liked what we were able to pull off. Just kind of taking a look at what our schedule held for us over the course of the season. And we played some pretty good football. You know, we started off a little shaky. We only beat FCS by 11 points. And I figured at that point, all right, this might be a really tough season. Probably not a bowl game at that point. But we do go off the start of the season on a tear. We do beat Utah State. We beat Boise State, who finished only 4-8. That's a surprise to me. And then also beat Wyoming 31-14 before we do end up taking that first loss of the season to Nevada. It was in a shootout. We were at Nevada. We lost by a field goal, last second interception, sealing the deal. And that was how our first loss of the season went down. But then we also do improve to 5-1. We beat Navy. Navy actually had a really rough year, 1-11 to show for it. Then we lose, first losing streak, actually our only losing streak of the season. Lose to San Diego State and then proceed to get absolutely crushed by Notre Dame, who didn't even get invited to a bowl game. A 6-6 Notre Dame team not making it, that's tough. But we do end up beating Army, and that helps us solidify the Commanders-in-Chief trophy. Feel really good about that. That was the game that did end us going bowl eligible. Then we beat New Mexico on the road, and then beating UNLV on top of that, 37-21. And it was at that point where our quarterback did get suspended for the first half for a rivalry game against Colorado State. That was a really ugly one, but we did win by a field goal. And our last two games were our best, blowing out Nevada and then nearly beating Washington. It was a really close one, but to be fair, Washington is going to be ranked in the final top 25, so can't really complain, I guess. But still, that was a tough one to pill to swallow at the end of the day. But it was a great season overall. I mean, 10-win season at the Air Force Academy, given the lack of athletes that I guess we had. I'm not going to complain. I personally, that made me feel really good overall. But now that we're on schedules, go ahead and check out, see how we did over the course of bowl season as we go ahead and see how the Mountain West did during bowl season. So looks like Nevada lost in the Idaho Potato Bowl, the Ball State. UNLV does at least win the Poinsettia Bowl. That being said, Fresno State lost the Hawaii Bowl. San Diego State wins the Auto Care Independence Bowl, and then to round it out, San Jose State actually beat Scott Frost and Nebraska 42-24 in the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. So we did pretty decent as a team, or as a conference overall, free in bowl games as a conference. Could have easily been 4-2 if we were able to stop a nosebleed, but hey, it's a Power 5 school. What are you gonna do about it, right? So it is what it is. But I was impressed with how our offense played towards the end. As we go ahead and check out, see who made it to the All-American list at the end of the day. I'm hoping that we, see one of our guys maybe make it on the list. Looks like we don't have it on the first team, except we do have DeMonte Meeks, a senior from Cleveland Heights, Ohio. He gets in there, 91 tackles, 7 TFLs, 3 sacks, and a pick. Also had 2 forced fumbles to go with it as well, so that's nice to see. Dude was a beast for us. He's a fringe NFL prospect. I don't know if he gets into the NFL. The Department of Defense has to clear a waiver for him, but if he does get that improved, he would be a potential NFL prospect. Lakota Wills probably won't make it to the NFL, but he was really great his senior year too. Won the Bednarik and the Butkus Award. Almost had 100 tackles, 20 TFLs as well, 7 sacks, no interceptions, but did have 2 forced fumbles. He was our sole award winner on this team. As we go ahead, check out, see if we have anybody on the second team. There's Carson Strong. That is from representing the Mountain West really well. We shut him down in a conference championship game. Also seeing Romeo Doubs, who is an NFL prospect in his own right. He's a beast. Josh Wiles here from Cincinnati. Any Air Force guys here? Oh, we got TD Blackman. Oh, only has a 72 overall. That's a pleasant little surprise. That's really cool to see. But no, we don't have anyone else on the All-American squad. As for All-Conference, any offensive players on the All-Conference team? And it does not look like we got any on the All-Conference team. But hey, you know, it is what we got 10 wins. We're glad we take that. So let's go ahead and check out the season stats for us over the course of this season. And that being said, you have to remember we did have a quarterback change in the middle of the season. We were winning with Warren Bryant. He wasn't getting hurt, unlike Hazik Daniels. So we just left him be as the starting quarterback, and he was pretty good. 143 for 241, almost 2,000 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, and 5 picks. So he did a pretty good job of taking care of the football overall. Now, he was also a threat on the ground to go with it as well. As we go ahead and check out the rushing numbers real quick, 674 yards on the ground and 6 touchdowns, including a 64-yard run that really sparked us in that Colorado State game. But he did have 12 fumbles, so fumbles were a little big of an issue, but you know, we won 10 games, right? Hazik Daniels was not as careful with the ball. 6 touchdowns, 8 picks, 1,078 yards passing. As for the running game, we actually did not have anybody get over 1,000 yards on the ground. DeAndre Hughes was the closest though, about 900 yards, 4 touchdowns in his junior campaign. Warren Bryant was second. He had 6 touchdowns, actually leads the team in rushing touchdowns this season. Hazik Daniels was our third leading rusher, as basically a guy who played maybe in half the games. 105 attempts, 427 yards, and 5 TDs. Brian Roberts, our fullback. He could be an NFL prospect next year if they still believe in the fullback position. 350 yards and 3 dubs. And to round it out, we got Jordan Gittery, 255 yards and 2 touchdowns. Omar Fatad also had a couple of touchdowns on the ground to go with it. And finally, for our receivers, we did pretty well, honestly. I really liked what I saw for the most part. Micah Davis led the team in touchdowns. He had 6 touchdowns as a wide receiver. Not close to receiving yards. Had 551 yards. That was second on the team. Second to David Cormier, who had 719 yards, 3 touchdowns. You'll love to see it. DeAndre Hughes was also a threat out of the backfield as well. He ended up with 370 yards and a touchdown. Kyle Patterson, our tight end, was nice. 500 yards and 3 TDs. Brandon Lewis had 5 touchdowns to go with his 25 catches. And then we also saw Jordan Gittery, our backup running back, also get some run with some catches as well. 22 catches, 257 yards, and a touchdown. And then finally, to kind of round out the group, Jake Spielwick had multiple touchdowns, 202 yards to go with it as well in his final season of college football. We wish him the best of luck with his Air Force career. All in all, it was a pretty solid season overall as the offensive coordinator for Air Force, as Jeff Grossman was in charge of an offense that averaged 27 points per game. That's good for 45th in the NCAA. But at the same time, though, we did have the highest scoring offense in the conference. So that's a really nice move. Not to mention, we won our first conference championship in a minute. I'm scrolling back, and it was a really long time. Maybe 1998. Maybe in the 90s, you know, getting a little bit of love. But, I mean, that being said, it was a really long time since the last time Air Force did anything in terms of winning conference championships. And it feels good to bring one home to Colorado Springs. But with that being said, I wanted to go out there and see what kind of coaching opportunities are out there for us. So I will cut back to you guys when there is actually a thing that makes sense for us. I either want to go to a Power 5 school and be an offensive coordinator, or maybe go to a 1-star school, a school that's in desperate need of a head coach to turn the culture around. If neither of those make sense, I will stay at Air Force for another season. But with that being said, I'll cut you guys when I'm ready to come back to you. Alright guys, so we see that the head coach that we are serving under in Troy Calhoun, he actually accepts a 5-year contract to go across the country and be the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. So that's going to make things interesting. That means that the Air Force head coaching position is going to be open, and I am really curious to see, maybe we can mess around and get that head coaching position. That would be really cool to see. Would love to see if we can make that happen or not, but we got to let the rest of his coaching carousel play out and see what happens. All right, boys, so we are here with the Air Force head coaching position. We are not even listed as a top 3 candidate, but you never know what could happen. And it looks like we will now be under Philip Montgomery. He was the head coach for Tulsa. He chose not to extend his contract anymore, so we'll be serving under a new head coach. The question is, are we still going to be at Air Force, or are we going to be somewhere else here for the second season of his coaching dynasty? All right, guys, so we get ourselves a coaching offer to become the offensive coordinator at Maryland, and I'm considering it. It will certainly be a challenge. It'll keep us busy. They got a decent program tradition. They have a Military Bowl win in their name as well, and they had a similar rated offense as we did. I think Power 5, that would be an interesting challenge, and honestly, I think I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm going to go ahead and get myself up to the Power 5, so I will now be the offensive coordinator for the Maryland Terrapins. I am excited. I can't wait to see how this turns out. It's going to be a fun journey here for next season, I can already tell. Alright, so now we got to go ahead and get ourselves acclimated with what's going on with our squad, man. And looks like we do have somebody going to the NFL. Looks like Dontre Demus Jr. is projected 6th round pick for his upcoming season. Had a decent year, 40 catches, 562 yards, and 4 TDs to go with it. But there is a true freshman in Andre Porter who's pretty good that wants to transfer to Louisiana Monroe. Let's do what we can to see if we can get him to stay, but he is confirmed to leave. So Louisiana Monroe, they are getting themselves some fantastic talent, that's for sure. I'm curious to see how Air Force is getting, and it looks like Jordan Guidry is also going to transfer. He's transferring to Tulsa. That being said, they are not going to see anybody make it to the NFL for Air Force. Thought we had a couple of guys that, like DeMonte Meeks, I thought he would have a chance, but focusing on his Air Force career instead, definitely understand that. We at least got one pro that goes to the NFL. Let's see if we can build off that next season with hopefully a little bit better than a 2-10 campaign. But with how we finished 2-10 over the course of this season, looks like we got quite a few transfers. We got Tim Lawson transferring in. We got Patrick Baton of North Carolina State. He wants to transfer in. Kelvin Gilliam wants to transfer in as well. And then, of course, Melvin Folk, true freshman from Syracuse. He did redshirt this past season. They're all going to transfer in. And I'm also going to accept all these guys. I mean, I really don't have much to lose at this point. You know, bring in those quality players. I love that idea. So one thing that I am going to go ahead and change for us is, while we are going about, being at a slightly bigger school with more resources, the goal is just to win, baby, win. So we will not have any recruiting restrictions, except one thing that I am going to do, because I am the offensive coordinator and not the head coach. Recruiting will now be done by the CPU only. I didn't do this while I was at Air Force because I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything cheesy going on, making sure that Air Force didn't get any 4 or 5-star recruits, because Air Force doesn't get those kind of guys. They have a hard time getting 3-star recruits as it is. So I wanted to keep it realistic, but now that we're here at Maryland, we are going to have a tough slate. We're in a Power 5 conference. I will let the CPU handle our recruiting. So the big question is, where does that leave our football program? Well, we do use the vast majority of our scholarships. And looking at this recruiting class, you know, we got a decent, I guess an okay recruiting class. Most of the talent, I think, is going to be on the offensive side of the ball, so we usually got that to work with. We do have Caleb Clark, who's a 4-star running back out of Sunrise, Florida. He chooses us over Southern Alabama. We do also end up with James Wright. He was a commit early on. And then we also got Randy Walker, who's a 70 overall, so a decent guard. I'm going to be looking to build maybe around James Wright and his ability to make something happen. And Caleb Clark, he looks like a good-looking running back as well. Wanted James Graham as well, but that didn't happen. He ended up going to Pittsburgh. But we have an okay recruiting class, but by Power 5 standards, not exactly that great. I mean, we're in the bottom half, right? We are 83rd in the country. That's not going to really cut it in the Big Ten. You know, being around teams like Kansas, for example. We're around a Kansas squad. It's going to be tough. I think it's going to be a tough rebuild. If we can make it to a bowl game with Maryland, I think that'll be good, but it will certainly be a challenge given the competition in our conference. So let's go ahead and check out where your custom prospects ended up landing and where they're going to be ending up playing college football at, starting with Alaska. We're going to go to the Great North. And how about this? 4-star wide receiver Cruz Wakefield. He did not receive any scholarship offers, but he is going to actually scratch that. He did receive a scholarship offer from Washington. But that being said, the Alabama Crimson Tide are going to come in and give him at least a chance to be a preferred walk-on, and Cruz Wakefield is going to take that opportunity. So we'll see if he can end up making that roster. I know Alabama is an insanely good football team. We'll see as well if they move him to quarterback, because he has some ability to play quarterback. Meanwhile, over in Idaho, we do end up seeing Chris Hill sign with the Kansas State Wildcats. They were really the only team that really was interested in him. So Chris Hill going to be playing defensive end for Kansas State, playing in that quality Big 12 conference. Not known for its defense, so maybe he can make a name for himself. Over in Maine, we do see 1-star quarterback John Ross sign with the Appalachian State Mountaineers. Join the Sun Belt. This was the only scholarship offer that John Ross received. So he is going to be going down south, playing in some warmer weather. We'll also see if he makes that 70-man roster for the Mountaineers. For the son of St. Thomas legend Zaire Hill, you guys might remember that from the St. Thomas series. His son Malachi Hill is going to play his college football at Iowa State University. This is also the only scholarship at Iowa State gave him. So Malachi Hill playing some college football, going out of the state of Minnesota to play with the Iowa State football team. In the state of New York, despite the fact that Jonathan Falzon has been screwed over in high school with his playing time, he will still be playing some college football at the FBS level. He will be going to school to play with the Buffalo Bulls. It was a tight recruiting battle between them and Temple, but Jonathan Falzon will end up staying in state and playing with Buffalo. For the recruitment of Isaiah King, we got a surprising development here. Now, this was a guy that did have scholarships to both East Carolina as well as the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, but look who ends up sweeping in. Louisiana Tech, and doing it without a scholarship offer. Now, this is quite a surprise if I say so myself. Isaiah King playing college ball for Louisiana Tech and doing so as a preferred walk-on. What a surprise. It's going to be a good pickup for the Bulldogs. So then, to wrap up the American prospects, we do also end up seeing John Johnson signed with the Washington State Cougars. He will remain in state. One of the most insane recruiting battles among the custom prospects. He had scholarship offers not only from Washington State, but also Oregon State, Boise State, Nevada, and Wyoming. Washington State ultimately winning that recruiting battle. It's a big pickup. He's the number 6 running back in this recruiting class. So he could very well be a day 1 starter. This dude is special. Speaking of special, we got to talk about the recruitment of Gladiator Aruba, a 4-star wide receiver, despite being undersized. I guess kind of compared to Devontae Smith, for example. 5'5", 160 pounds, but he's got some skills, man. And the Wisconsin Badgers, we're going to end up calling, and he will end up signing with Wisconsin. Going to be in the same conference as us. Also had a scholarship offer from Missouri as well, but Wisconsin does end up winning out there. And then the other custom prospect that came all the way from Bulgaria, immigrated to Canada, played some high school football in Canada, just a very raw guy, going to be playing for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Only scholarship offer that Andre Scheigel did end up receiving, but we're going to see how his career unfolds as well. So we do get to the position changes portion of the offseason. And one thing that I did want to go ahead and do off rip is go ahead and make a quick move him over from left guard over to the right guard position. We have 5 left guards listed, but we only have 2 right guards per se. So what I am going to do right from the jump, I'm going to move Patrick Matan and move him over to that right guard position. He won't start right away because of the transfer rules that were in place back when NCAA 14 came out. Would have been cool to see if there was a way to have like transfer waivers, but you know, maybe that'll be in the next EA college football game. But for now, we will have Jakai Green starting for us over at that right guard position. Patrick Matan should be the starter when next season comes around, but there's going to be some growing pains on that particular position. So one thing that I do want to note is that while we're here at Maryland, at least we do have some NFL prospects that are on the squad. We got 5 players that are going to be over 90 overall. 2 of them are going to be on the offensive side of the ball. Nick Cross is going to be our best player. He's a 95. But we also got Mazoa Nazili Kite. He's a senior redshirt. Rakeem Jarrett. He's a special dude. 6 foot, 201 pounds. Right here in Maryland. He's a 92 overall, and he's only a sophomore. That's the crazy part. Hopefully, we don't lose him to the NFL draft. We will also have Tyrese Still, and then the other 90 overall that is on the offensive side of the ball is Jolene Duncan, 6'6", 315 pounds, right here in Baltimore, Maryland, baby. Loving that we got him on this Maryland football squad. Now, in terms of our quarterback positions, Tulia Tagovailoa, the son of a certain Tagovailoa over in the NFL right now, playing for the Miami Dolphins. He improves by 7 points, so he's now an 86 overall, so that's going to be a big help for us. He's not as quick as what we've had over at Air Force, so maybe we need to make some adjustments and pass the football a little bit more often. Maybe not necessarily go 50-50, but maybe like a 60-40 split between running and passing, so that we can go ahead and use Tulia's passing ability. I mean, dude has 84 throw power, 84 accuracy. He's a good passer of the football, and he does have really good acceleration and agility as well to go with it. At running back, we'll have a couple of running backs to work with here. We'll have Isaiah Jacobs, sophomore redshirt out of Oslo, Oklahoma, and then we'll also have Penny Boone, who's more of the power guy, more of a I'm a punch you in the mouth kind of guy. It'll probably get quite a bit of run in our option offense that we still plan on running, so that's going to be a thing. Fullback, we don't have anything. Wide receiver, I already talked about Rakeem Jarrett, but behind him, we do also have Jay Sean Jones, senior redshirt from Fort Myers, Florida. Our receiving core is slightly better than what it was at Air Force, you know, but it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, I think. Marcus Fleming's okay. Deshaun McDougal's going to be okay. And then Dino Tomlin and Nick DeGanero is going to be a challenge. You know, definitely need some room to grow. At tight end, we'll have Chigozium Okan. Well, wow, these are some names right here. If you know how to say some of these names, let me know down in the comments. This is, you're really testing the mouth today with these pronunciations, but he's going to be our starter. And then we'll also have Corey Dykes, CJ Dippery, and Weston Wolf in the reserves. Left tackle, I've talked about Jalen Duncan. We already know he's going to be stud. Rest of his offensive line, we'll have to wait and see. Mason Runsford looks really good, but Christopher Love, let's talk about him for a second, man. +8 in one off season. You'll love to absolutely see that. Really trying to work on his craft. It gets him up as our backup left guard, moving him over Evan Gregory, who's a senior. Then at center, we got two solid centers, actually. We got Eric Harris and Austin Fontaine with Mitchell Gorgas in the reserve. Over at right guard, Patrick Matan, like I said, who transferred over from left guard, he's going to be a 78, but Jakari Green's only a 73. So what I might do is I might go ahead and move Austin Fontaine maybe over to right guard, even though he is listed at that center position. And then at right tackle, we will have Emilio Morgan and Spencer Anderson to round out our offensive unit. So one thing that I am going to go ahead and do, as we are here at the toughest part of the offseason, frankly, you know, got to cut from the bottom. I want to get rid of Kenneth Campbell. I mean, 40 overall on scholarship. We can't be having that. I can't cut Sean Cody, though, because he is a walk-on, so we will have to keep him on the squad. But like a lot of these guys out here that are in like the mid 50s, low 40s, you know, they can go ahead and just skedaddle on out of here. Because I want to have the best 70 guys on the field straight up and down. And, you know, if you ain't good, then you just ain't good at the end of the day. So we'll get rid of Eric Webb. Oh, we can't get rid of Eric. He's a fullback too. So looks like both Tyrone Thompson, he's going to go, and then we're also going to go right. This is a junior, by the way, so I have no problem getting rid of a junior that's only a 63 overall. So this is what our final roster is going to be looking like. We got a few stars on this team, and yeah, man, I'm feeling pretty good, or at least better than what we had at Air Force. But given that we're playing against tougher competition, it's going to be an interesting challenge, and I'm ready for it. So, guys, one thing that I honestly forgot to do whenever I was first starting this dynasty was to make sure that the conferences were realigned, because it had Maryland in the ACC, and I thought that was kind of weird. I did go in there, make sure that the conferences are now realigned to how they currently are as of right now, not what the future holds. As those conference realignments become official, I will be changing it based off that, but for this season, it was just to make sure everything's right. So this is what the conferences are now going to be looking like for us. Again, Big Ten East, going to be an interesting challenge. Got Indiana, who's ranked, Michigan State's who's ranked, Ohio State's ranked, Penn State and Michigan, at least overall-wise, are really good. Rutgers has a decent squad too. So when we get to that Big Ten East, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a challenge. Hopefully we're ready for it. And speaking of that competition, speaking of that challenge, look at this schedule. It's going to be tough for us to be competitive and get ourselves to a bowl game this season. First and foremost, we start the season off with 3 road games in a row. On the road against Temple, on the road against Wisconsin, on the road against West Virginia. Then we have a home game versus Illinois, home game versus Florida State. They are a former blue blood. They're trying to get themselves back. Then we got 2 more road games against Purdue and Michigan. Home games versus Penn State and Ohio State comes in ranked number 9. Indiana comes in ranked 21st. And then we round out the season with Rutgers and Michigan State. So, guys, this is going to be a challenge. This is not going to be an easy schedule to navigate. But, hey, if there's a will, there's always going to be a way. We're going to have to try and figure things out. It's going to be tough for sure. So then to round things out, I wanted to show you all of the people that I did plan on redshirting this year, and 2 players I'm going to redshirt off rip is Caleb Clark and Michael Wilson. Neither of them are going to really receive that much playing time, and I also believe in Roman Hemby. If he needs to come in, we can lean on an Isaiah Jacobs and Penny Boone, I think, this upcoming season. And then over on the left guard position as well, I also wanted to go ahead and redshirt Randy Walker. He's right now listed as a 4th string lineman, you know, so he's not going to be on the field very much, so went ahead and redshirt him as well. And then on the defensive side of the ball, what I did also decide to do, I did end up redshirting Eric Samuel as well. Same principle. He's going to be somebody that's probably going to be sitting on the bench for a little while, at least while Kelvin Gimium is on the team. So that being said, letting Samuel sit and develop behind, and maybe we can make something shake there with that. But guys, that is actually going to go ahead and wrap things up here, as we get close to the start of season number 2. Next episode, what we will end up doing is playing those first couple of games as the offensive coordinator for Maryland. But before I signed off here, I wanted to talk to you guys about how you can get more personally involved in this series. What I planned on doing is, for those of you that want to submit a custom prospect this year, or at least for this series, you will actually start off as a high school senior. We'll see your process in the recruiting process. As you progress over to college, we'll track your career. Maybe we can get a couple of you guys on our team personally. So if that's something that interests you guys, I will have a template in the pinned comment sections that you can go ahead and follow if you want to check that out. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this little offseason recap as we see Jeff Grossman get that promotion up to a Power 5 offensive coordinator. It should be a good one, man. Make sure you smash that like button. Hit me up down in the comments below. And hit that subscribe button if you have to be brand new, man. It's free. I know there's a bunch of you right now watching my videos that have not hit that subscribe button, so help a brother out. But with that being said, this is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off. I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.